Right now on Brookland News Live, the FIFA World Cup kicks off. You're taking a live look there at a watch party in Johannesburg, South Africa. We will bring you there live coming up. And breaking news, we are following an incident at the Pentagon now deemed a false alarm. We will bring you the latest on that. Plus, even more breaking news. New details coming in on the war in Iran as you take a look live there in DC. We've got that and so much more coming up on this edition of Brookland News Live.
Brookland News Live starts right now with breaking news.
And we are live. Welcome into Brookland News headquarters. I'm Jackson Mitchell. It's Thursday, June 11th, 2026. It is good to be with you. We are starting with breaking news because there are a number of developing stories that we are following right now across the nation. And of course, we want to bring you those right here on Brookland News Live. We do want to start with this story right now. This is a breaking news story coming into us from the Pentagon that we are following right now. As you take a look there at the Pentagon, a shot there from WUSA, where again we are getting in some developing details, and that is about this so-called hazmat incident that occurred earlier this morning, now deemed as a false alarm. What we want to do for you is bring you a statement from earlier from the Pentagon Pentagon spokesman, Sean Parnell, who was speaking about this earlier. In that original statement, he says, quote, "The Pentagon has sophisticated systems to ensure the safety of the building and its occupants. Those systems have detected an air quality issue necessitating precautionary measures." So many people that were working inside the Pentagon today were evacuated. We just got in a statement a few moments before we came on the air. This is a new one from Sean Parnell, who is again the chief Pentagon spokesman, saying, quote, "Earlier this morning, Pentagon occupants were notified of a potential air quality issue, prompting immediate precautionary safety measures and evaluation. Subsequent testing confirmed no hazard exists and normal operations have resumed. We express our sincere appreciation to the first responders for their swift actions to ensure the safety of all personnel." So this was again a story that had been breaking earlier this morning that we were following. Back out there to that shot we have right now of the Pentagon. You can see this is again from earlier today. The number of law enforcement there, if you look in the bottom right hand side, it was an active scene. Of course, a big event at the Pentagon, and of course it comes amid the war in Iran, and of course there were expected strikes that were going to happen tonight. Of course, those have since been called off. We'll get to that a little bit later, though. So it is a story we are monitoring. But again, earlier today, to wrap things up here, a hazmat situation, essentially a sensor went off saying that there had been some type of something in the air, deeming them to evacuate parts of the Pentagon. And now we are here. So this is, again, a big story we are following right now. Alrighty, we want to take you to the White House because we have yet even more breaking news. Trump announcing a few moments ago that he will nominate Jay Clayton to be the next Director of National Intelligence. He formerly served as the SEC Director. Let's take you now to that Truth Social post that came in earlier from the president, where he says, quote, "I am pleased to announce the nomination of very highly respected Jay Clayton, former chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, the former head of Sullivan and Cromwell, one of the most prominent and successful law firms anywhere in the world, and the current United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, to be the next Director of National Intelligence, and importantly, to serve in my cabinet. Few people anywhere in the legal community are respected at any level of J. I encourage the United States Senate to confirm Jay as soon as possible. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So President Trump announcing the nomination of Jay Clayton. This comes just almost a week after he would put in Bill Pulte to serve as the acting director of national intelligence. Back live there at the White House, where we are continuing to follow those details there. Right now at the White House. And we are getting more information on the Iran war this hour as well. So, so many developing stories. We want to get to all of them. We are getting new information about the Iran war. This came hours after Trump would say on Fox and Friends this morning in a phone interview, we are launching more strikes on Iran, and that Karg Island would be one of the places that they are threatening to take over. We'll start here with kind of the beginning of the news from the White House and from Iran. Back on Tuesday, when a U.S. Army Apache helicopter was downed near the Strait of Hormuz. So this began kind of this renewed fighting. After that, again, Apache helicopter was down near the Strait of Hormuz after colliding with an Iranian drone. Though whether the collision was intentional still remains under investigation here. So that's a key note to keep in your head as we go through this. Now, both crew members, they were rescued safely. President Trump had immediately blamed Iran, posting on Truth Social that, quote, the Iranians shot down one of our highly sophisticated Apache helicopters while patrolling over the Strait of Hormuz, end quote, declaring the U.S., quote, must of necessity respond, end quote. U.S. Central Command launched retaliatory strikes on Tuesday night, describing them as, quote, self-defense strikes and a, quote, proportional response to unjustified Iranian aggression, with explosions reported on Qasem Island and in the ports of Sirak, Josk, and Bandar Abbas. Iran then launched retaliatory aerial attacks on targets in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan. Take a listen here. This is President Trump this morning in an interview with Fox and Friends.
Say it this way, that is almost an ultimatum now, that there's no more negotiation at this point. You went back and forth with them, you gave them 2 weeks, and now they have to take the deal that you have offered them, that you tried to negotiate in good faith, or everything goes and the people can be liberated. Is that what's happening right now?
Well, that could happen if we want to keep going. And, you know, the deal is a very good deal. The problem with the deal is that it could be the greatest deal in history. They could wave the white flag of surrender. They could say, we surrender, we're finished, we've had it. The United States is the greatest power. Praise be to Allah. And they could do all of this. They could say it loud and clear, and the fake news would say it was a great victory for Iran. I mean, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. We're killing them. Just killing them. They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. They have no anti-aircraft. You know, we're flying planes over the middle of Tehran, and they have no idea what we're there. We've knocked out all of their radar, all of their anti-aircraft. Much of their missiles, they have probably less than 20%. We think about 20%. Most of their launchers, they have the missile launchers, which are quite important. Their drone capacity is way down. You see it. I mean, it's way down. Their attacks are very minor. They're finished. And yet the fake news, just like with the election, the fake news is out there saying, wow, Iran is doing just so well. Trump is doing terribly. I watched it yesterday, one of the shows for 5 minutes. I haven't seen the show in a long while. This fake Joe Scarborough talking about how well Iran is doing. I'm saying, where do they come from? It's just the craziest thing. Yeah. And behind the scenes, I will tell you, they won't even dispute it, although they probably would because it makes sense. They're very good. Iran is very good at publicity, but they're not good at fighting. So but I took a look, and I must tell you, they can't believe the press they're getting. They can't even believe it. Yeah. And they told me, they said, it's amazing how well we're doing in the papers. We're not doing so well. They're negotiating with us to make a deal.
Well, Mr.
Yeah, and now there is, well, major updates in all of this that we are learning, and this came in literally moments before we came on the air. Before we kind of talk about this, it was our understanding through that interview that he did on Fox and Friends and a Truth Social that he posted early this morning that it would be the third night of consecutive strikes between Iran and the United States after the downing of the Apache helicopter. So first here, I want to start off with President Trump's Truth Social at about 7:22 a.m. this morning, where he says, quote, "The United States will be hitting Iran," in parentheses there, "whose Navy, Air Force, radar, anti-aircraft, and all other forms of defense, together with most of its offense capability, are gone." End of the parentheses. "Very hard tonight. At some point in the not too distant future, we will be taking Karg Island and other oil infrastructure points and assume total control of their oil and gas markets, much like we have with Venezuela, which is working out brilliantly and for both Venezuela and the United States of America. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump." So you see there, President at the time this morning saying, well, there is going to be more strikes coming tonight. And I thought it was interesting that President made it so public that there would be strikes coming tonight, and now we are seeing him reverse that, announcing some type of agreement has come to fruition. This is his news statement that was released earlier this afternoon, so just before we came on the air here, saying, quote, "Based on the fact that discussions with the Islamic Republic of Iran have been brought to the highest level of Iranian leadership and approved, I have, as President of the United States of America, canceled the scheduled strikes and bombings against Iran this evening. Discussions and final points have been in both concept and great detail approved by all parties involved, including the United States, Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, Pakistan, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Egypt, and others. The naval blockade will remain in full force and effect until this transaction is finalized. Time and place of the signing to be announced shortly." So again, that is what we are waiting on right now, and it could come again at any moment, some type of announcement as to when this deal could come to fruition, when there could be some type of signing of this deal. Not only that, but what is this deal? We don't quite know. We know very surface level things from that True Social there, that the deal is between a number of countries. Not only that, it is a deal that is stopping the strikes that were planned for tonight. So it's something that we are going to follow. And if there are more updates on the war in Iran, we will bring you that. And President Trump, he actually, is that, okay, no. Okay, sorry, I was refreshing my screen on his Truth Social, and he pinned a truth, but it appears to be the same truth that was posted that we literally just read to you a few seconds ago. So, sorry, I was just checking in on that there. Okay, so I want to play a video for you. This is Bill Hemmer on Fox News, kind of doing an explainer as how this all began, starting from Tuesday to now. Why is it so important that maybe President Trump would actually, do what he's take over Kuwait? Why is that so important? I want to play a video for you about that. Take a listen. This is Bill Hemmer this morning on America's Newsroom.
What's transpired from U.S. Central Command on Wednesday. Self-defense strikes described by the United States, and here's what happened overnight. Talked a lot about the Strait of Hormuz, that choke point where so much travel goes by the sea, okay? So this is Keshem Island, Minab, Sirak as well. They were all hit overnight. The area of Isfahan apparently taking hits as well. What the president told Trey is that 49 Tomahawk missiles aimed at targets about 40 miles outside of Tehran. That might fit for Isfahan in the nuclear program that had been developed in that area. Now, with regard to Karg Island, this all came out in the last 60 minutes or so. The reason why Karg Island is so significant, it's well off the shore here. Well off, I'm saying 10, 15 miles, okay? But it's in deeper water, that's the point. So you can get these giant vessels from all over the world that can easily pull up the Karg Island. They can load the oil onto their vessels and then move their way down through the Strait of Hormuz in this direction here. The reason why this is so significant is because if you take control of Karg Island, you will take control yet again of the economy of Iran. Many military analysts coming on our air over the past several months said this is what you need to do. It hasn't been done. But if you take Karg Island, you have to control it. And that means you put U.S. men and women in danger of taking fire on behalf of Iran. So keep that in mind if indeed there is a move on Karg Island sometime tonight or in the coming days. Iran, meanwhile, has not sat back. They still have drone capability. They still have missile capability. And for the second straight night, we know they took aim at a U.S. airbase that houses the F-35 in Jordan. We know overnight they've gone after the Fifth Fleet, again here stationed in Bahrain, and they've taken aim at Kuwait as well. The Kuwaitis are saying just about 2 hours ago that they engaged 24 incoming drones over the past 48 hours time, 24 drones in for Kuwait. Now, with regard to our firepower, I know there's a lot on this map. There's a reason why there's a lot on this map, because the U.S. naval assets are significant throughout the Middle East. And just so you can zero in, that's the Strait of Hormuz. Here's Tehran approximately up there in that part of the map. Let's leave this alone for a moment and talk about what's happening with the ceasefire. So there was a ceasefire declared in early April now, and a lot of people have debated whether or not it's a real ceasefire or whether or not the tit for tat continues. This is what we can say. Depending on how you define a ceasefire, it has held reasonably well for 60 plus days. That's not to suggest that there hasn't been tit for tat. The U.S. going after Iran, Iran going after Israel, and return fire on behalf of the Israelis. But let me take you to the far left part of this screen, okay? This is just the past several days. Today is Thursday. On Tuesday now, the U.S. struck back after a U.S. Apache helicopter that had been patrolling the coastline of Oman took a drone. And based on the description we're getting from the Pentagon, that drone lodged itself in between the cockpit of two pilots. They took the Apache down and went in the waters at sunset. They waited there for 2 hours until an unmanned drone, a water vessel, came across the ocean, rescued these two pilots, and pulled them to safety on board a helicopter. So the U.S. then and the president convinced that they needed to take action. And that is what we have seen based on the last 2 nights. Now, Jimmy will slide.
There you go. So a big explainer as to kind of how this all began, where we are right now. That was from this morning. And of course, as we noted a few moments ago, those strikes have since been called off. I do want to apologize here really quickly. I said Kuwait, and I meant to say Karg Island. Karg Island is the island that the president mentioned that the U.S. has made their intentions clear, that the possibility of taking it over could become a reality. And you saw where the Karg Island was located there in the Persian Gulf, which is, it's roughly 1/3 the size of Manhattan. It's really, really small. It handles more than 90% of Iran's crude oil exports. That's the key part about all of this here, because it makes it the single most critical piece of Iran's economy. Now, the U.S. previously struck military targets on the island earlier in the war, but has largely avoided targeting oil infrastructure until now. However, Trump told Fox News he is not sure, quote, America has the stomach to actually take the island, comparing the potential operation to the U.S. seizure of Venezuela's oil industry, which Trump called, quote, working out brilliantly. A senior military advisor to Iran's supreme leader called Trump, quote, unhinged, saying, quote, the unhinged U.S. president imagines that bombs can get him out of the quagmire he himself created, but Iranian missiles will sink him even deeper into it, unquote, and demanding that Washington must choose between accepting Iran's terms and losing the last shred of its credibility in the world. But Bahrain's military also confirmed this morning that its air defense systems intercepted and destroyed a number of aerial attacks from Iran, calling it part of Tehran's, quote, systematic hostile approach, unquote, with tonight's strikes now canceled at this moment in time, and Karg Island now openly on the table. President Trump also made that part clear in this Fox News interview from this morning. The Iran war is now really entering what most would consider kind of a extremely dangerous escalation, the most yet. We're 100 days in here with no end in sight yet. Of course, at the beginning of all of this, it was said to take 6 to 8 weeks. It has taken much longer than that, 100+ days. Now, as of this morning, Brent crude is climbing toward $95 a barrel. It's since dropped just a little bit. That's the same with WTI. Crude has fallen to around $89 a barrel. It's still dropping just a little bit, of course, after that announcement that President Trump was going to cancel the strikes on Iran. This comes as markets whipsaw between fears of escalating U.S.-Iran strikes and signs of slightly rising oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz. So it's definitely a story that we are going to follow. We want to get you right now to those fuel prices. $4.12 across the nation. $4.15 was yesterday, so down the average of 3 cents, $3.74 in Arkansas and $3.60 in Jonesboro. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve This is something you might want to hear. This has now fallen to 349.2 million barrels. Why is that so important? It slips past Biden era lows and is approaching levels not seen since Ronald Reagan was in the White House. That was back in 1983, with the Trump administration tapping nearly 9 million barrels per week to keep prices from spiraling out of control. Why is this also so ironic? Trump spent years on the campaign trail hammering Biden for draining the reserve, but he's now doing the same thing and draining it faster in a war his own administration launched. So just another piece of this story that you've got to follow there out of the White House. So again, Trump now canceling strikes on Iran here in the latest new escalation of this war that is continuing now. We are still waiting in key information here on what was inside that deal that the president cited in that Truth Social post that not only the U.S. and Iran, but several other countries had made. So it is just another piece of this story in what is an ever so changing world of war in the Middle East that we are following right now. Okay, want to take you to Capitol Hill right now for what is a developing story as well as a breaking news story. The House earlier this morning failed to pass a short-term extension of Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA is what you may hear it referred to as. The government's key warrantless spying program, with the vote falling 198 to 218, not even reaching a simple majority. Let alone the two-thirds supermajority required because Speaker Johnson fast-tracked it under suspension of the rules. Now, the collapse was driven almost entirely by one thing: Trump's decision to appoint Bill Pulte. That is notable because we just heard today that he's going to appoint someone new now. Not as the acting, he's going to nominate for the full-time position. So, notable here. The head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, who has zero national security experience and who has used his current job to refer criminal charges against 4 Trump political opponents. Still talking about Bill Pulte here. Democrats refused to hand sweeping spy powers to someone they called, quote, famous for creating personal mortgage dossiers on Trump's enemies, unquote. House Intelligence Chair Rick Crawford of Arkansas blasted Democrats for playing, quote, political chicken with an essential national security tool, unquote, pointing out that the country is at an elevated threat level with the FIFA World Cup underway, America's 250th birthday celebrations approaching, and Iran and its proxies targeting U.S. personnel daily, with the House now leaving town for a week-long recess. They'll be back on June 23rd. Now, that section of FISA is set to expire tomorrow, Friday, putting the country's most powerful foreign surveillance tool in legal limbo with no clear path of reauthorization in sight. So for sure, a story, to watch there out of the House of Representatives. So could this new nomination, when Republicans and Democrats come back to the House, could this new nomination that's not Bill Pulte change things? It's a story that we are going to follow right here on Brookland News Live. Alrighty, we just talked a little bit about FIFA. We are still monitoring that live feed out of Johannesburg, South Africa. A watch party there as the game has just gotten underway. As soon as you came on the air, Ted, we will bring you a live update coming up here in just a few moments. Stick with us. An update on the California election is next. You're watching Brookland News Live. And welcome back into Brookland News Live. Decision Desk HQ now projecting that both incumbent Mayor Karen Bass and City Council member Nithya Raman will advance to the November runoff in that election. Let's take a look at the results coming in right now from Decision Desk headquarters, as you see there on your screen. You can see the vote still coming in there. This was Karen Bass there at 34.30%. And then 28% even, it appears there from Nithya Raman. It's a little far away here, so I hope I'm getting that right. Republicans already claiming fraud in this election, as Spencer Pratt, who was an independent running in this race, but kind of caucused with Republicans, not moving on to the runoff election. Of course, California works on the 50% rule, meaning to win outright, you got to win 50% of the vote. Now, Bass has served as a Democrat. Pratt is a registered Republican whose home burned back in the 2025 Palisades fire. And Raman, is a Democratic socialist and former Bass ally who entered the race at the last minute, challenging her one-time friend from the left. The campaign is centered on Los Angeles' recovery from the devastating 2025 wildfires, the homelessness crisis, and ICE operations in the city. Now, if the DDHQ projection holds, which it almost is going to hold, I can tell you that, Bass and Raman will face off in a November general election, a rematch of allies turned rivals that will define the future direction of the nation's second largest city. So that is a race that we will be watching closely here to see who prevails. Will it be the incumbent Karen Bass or Councilwoman Nithya Raman? It's a race we are going to watch. Then you've also got, well, this election here. Former Health and Human Services Secretary and California Attorney General Xavier Becerra has secured his spot in the November general election for the California governor, as well as Steve Hilton. You see that call now made there. Steve Hilton, a Republican, and Xavier Becerra expected to make their move on to the general election for California governor there. It looks like 28 or 26%. I'm sorry, it's really far away. I'm trying to read it. It says 28 and then 24% for Steve Hilton. Tom Steyer not too far behind it, well, at 22%. Though the call does project Xavier Becerra and Steve Hilton will make it forward to the election there. So we will watch that. Again, as I noted a few moments ago, this comes as President Trump has claimed fraud in this both elections, saying this morning on Fox and Friends that the only reason Steve Hilton was called to make it forward in this election is because he talked to people in California, and almost instantly after that, Steve Hilton was projected to win. Unfounded claims, of course, but we do want to take a listen. This is President Trump on Sunday, interview that aired Sunday, rather, on Meet the Press, saying there is fraud. He was pressed hard by Kristen Welker, who said, okay, then give me some evidence, essentially. Take a listen.
There's tremendous evidence. There's nothing but evidence. The election was rigged. It was a dirty election. And it's happening again right now in California.
Presented evidence.
It's happening right now in California. Right now, it's look at what's happening in California.
To that?
It's
the
4
Republicans
days.
are doing well in
California. It's no, they're not. They're dropping fast because it's a rigged election. Let me tell you, it's 4 days. And they aren't even close to coming up with it. You know why they're doing that? Because they're cheating on the election.
Do you have evidence to support that?
All I have to do is look. All I have to do is look.
That's not evidence.
And I listen. And I listen to people. And let's see what happens.
But, sir, that's not evidence.
Do you think it's appropriate?
That's how they count the votes in California.
Do you think it's appropriate that they have an election and 5 days later they're nowhere close to picking a winner?
State and local officials acknowledge they are slow. They're urging.
No, they're crooked.
They're urging the votes to be counted quickly. That's how they vote in California.
They're crooked, just like you're crooked. Your press is crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked.
To be fair, I'm not crooked, but let's
really.
Let's
well,
continue.
You play right into their hands.
Let's continue.
You're either crooked or you're stupid. You play right into their hands with this rap. You know that these elections are rigged. Your network knows that they're rigged. You know that I won an election in a landslide, and I got 94% bad press.
But, Mr. President,
you know why I got that? Because you have no
evidence.
credibility.
But you
Alrighty, there you go. President Trump on all of that. We are getting breaking news in right now. We want to jump to this right now. We are working to get a feed for you. President Donald Trump right now is speaking to the press and taking questions. We are working to get you a feed there. Let's bring that to you live. This is coming into us right now. This comes after that Iran war truth social, that there was a deal made. Let's listen in. Already stand by with me. It looks like we might be having some audio issues. Is kind of what has to happen when we have get in a feed so quickly. Stand by with me. Okay, it looks like we might have audio now for you. Let's go back out there live and listen in.
Great that he's actually a field marshal, a step above, and they're all very happy. The whole Middle East is happy, and long beyond the Middle East, the Strait will open as soon as we have it signed. We've been taking out many ships that nobody knew. Even the fake news didn't know it. But over the last month, we've been taking out ships, big ships, quietly at night. You guys didn't know that. Pretty cool, right? As a captain, he knows about more about ships than I do, but it's pretty cool. They turned off the lights. We bombed their radar and everything, so they couldn't see what was going on. We took out some nights 25 ships, some nights 15. Last 4 or 5 nights we did 25, 22, 21, 26, 18, and 14. Who else would remember those numbers? Nobody. And but a lot of ships, a lot of oil is out. That's why oil, even before this, the market couldn't understand why it was so free. There was more oil than they thought. What they're trying to, we took them out at night. And that with the Strait will officially open as soon as we sign, which could be soon, very soon, maybe over the weekend. In Europe, I won't be able to be there, but JD will be there, Vice President, and some of the people. Steve Woodcock did a great job, Jared. So we'll take some questions, but right now we're here to talk about fishermen and fisherwomen. Okay, we have they're great people, and I guess I'm a little prejudiced because they all voted for me. Would you say I got 100% or just
110%?
I think if I didn't, we'd have a surprise.
110%.
We'd have a big surprise. So it's my honor to be taking this action to lower seafood costs and generate millions and millions of dollars in new business for our great, really great fishermen, great people, by restoring commercial access to 3 areas of the Western Pacific Ocean. It's a large amount of space we're talking about that they were restricted. Other countries would use it, but our country couldn't use it. You ever hear anything so stupid? I want to thank Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum, Alaska Governor Mike Dunleavy, and Congresswoman Kimberly King Hines for joining us today. We appreciate it all very much. Thank you very much. Thanks as well to Captain Sig Hansen, a superstar. Him and Tom Cruise are the 2 biggest people in entertainment. Thank you very much. Great job. And Pacific Seafood CEO Frank Dulcich and his sons Dominic and Charles, and many more dedicated fishermen and seafood industry leaders. We have some great leaders here. And your product is amazing. It's been going along for a long time, right? Seafood. It's amazing. And doing great.
Alrighty there, President Trump. Here's what we're going to do here. If you're watching us here on Brookland News, we are going to continue our, we have a few more stories to get to here. We are going to listen back in as soon as President Trump begins taking questions there. So trust me, we're going to listen into it. We want to get to the important part, though, that he said he is going to take questions here in just a moment. We want to listen into him when he speaks about the Iran war there. So we will listen in to the White House when that comes, when he begins taking questions. And it is my understanding that he might have addressed that at the beginning of this presser here, this unexpected moment there. He wasn't expected to have, he did have events at the White House, but they weren't expected to be in front of cameras. I'm going to roll the tapes back really quickly because it is my understanding that he might have addressed it at the beginning of his remarks here. So why don't we do that? Why don't we go to the beginning of his remarks really quickly and listen in once again. Again, this is breaking news coming into us moments ago. President Trump providing an update on Iran. Let's take a listen.
You'll never be satisfied, but that's okay. That doesn't bother me at all. We just made a great settlement of the war with Iran, and we're going to be subject to finalization of documents, which should get done over the next few days. Probably have a signing maybe in Europe, and it's a great thing. Stock market's up 1,000 points. That means they like the deal. See, that means they like, if the market goes down, that means they don't like the deal. But it's been up, oil's dropped. Oil will start coming down to, I think, even lower than it was before. I said I was in Iowa. It was $1.85 a gallon. And I don't know if I'm going to get there, but we're going to get pretty close. It's going to come down, and when oil comes down, everything else comes down. And most importantly, we have a deal that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, which was the whole purpose of what we had to go through to get this. So it was a big, very big thing. But we have a signing soon, and the documents are in pretty final shape. So we'll see. We'll see. Very good. Should be done. That should be done pretty quickly. They want it every bit as much as everybody else wants it. And I think a lot of good relationships can ensue from this. I just spoke with the leaders of many of the countries that were mentioned in the release. I just spoke to Bibi. I spoke to the head of great heads of nations, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, and others. And we're going to be talking to Turkey, President Erdogan, who's great. And it's really a wonderful thing. With a lot of spirit. Pakistan was fantastic. The Prime Minister and the, I call him the general. He's the general. He's a great general. He's so great that he's actually a field marshal, a step above.
Alrighty there, President Trump, again, moments ago at the White House addressing the Iran war that came after that Truth Social that he posted just over an hour ago or so now, where he called off the strikes in Iran. You see it now there on your screen, saying that there had been a deal made. He says he believes that a signing of that deal could come in the next few days. Again, that is over at the White House right now, where we again are following an unexpected remark from President Trump. Again, that was moments ago there as he addressed things with the Iran war, saying the finalization of the peace deal should be possible in the next few days. So we are standing, we'll monitor that and bring you updates on that. President Trump continuing to speak there from the White House. When if he begins taking questions during the hour that we are with you, we will bring you those live. Okay, if you're watching us right now, we got a lot more coming up. Again, I promised you that update on FIFA World Cup. We're going to try to get to that. There has been so much news, you guys. Our time is kind of a little bit short here. We're still going to try to get to some of those big headlines. Stick with us. More news after the break. A quick break, I'll add. And now to this developing story. St. Francis County Sheriff Bobby May is facing intense community backlash. You see him there on your screen. This comes after he rehired Deputy Alvin Trey Binham. he goes by Trey there, who was previously investigated in connection with the November 2024 death of 15-year-old Trip Bazile, a teenager whose death was ruled a suicide less than 2 days after he was seen fleeing from law enforcement on a four-wheeler. Bazile's family says the boy had previous run-ins with Deputy Benham and was terrified of him, with the family member recalling that Tripp once told her, quote, "That cop, he's gonna kill me if he catches me," unquote. Sheriff May addressed the rehiring Wednesday at a press conference at the St. Francis County Courthouse that quickly turned chaotic there. Again, a major controversial moment. Take a listen here. Sorry about that air there.
This news conference is about Trey Bynum, a good guy, a decent, good man who has been persecuted beyond persecution by liars, by people who are lying. So what we're going to do, we're going to start back in November of 2024. We got a call, it was around midnight, I guess, that there were a couple of juveniles missing, and deputies were sent out to look for these juveniles. In the process of looking for these juveniles, David Kinney, one of my deputies, ran across these young men on four-wheelers on the state highway. Well, it's unlawful to be on the state highway in broad daylight, not to mention in the middle of the night. So he stopped them to get them off the highway, not to write them a ticket, just get them someplace safe where they wouldn't get run over or they run over somebody. In that process, Trey Bynum pulled up. This deputy right back here. When he pulled up, one of the young men by the name of Trip Bazile ran on the four-wheeler. Trey got behind him. Some people have asked, well, why do you chase a four-wheeler? Why do we chase anything? We don't know why they're running. For all we know, that he could have had 20 pounds of cocaine. We don't know, and I'm exaggerating, of course. But in any event, he stopped. Trip stopped, jumped off the four-wheeler, ran into the woods. Now, the people who are telling these blasphemous lies said, or saying, that Trey Bynum got out of his car, chased him down, found some kind of rope or something, hung the boy. Now, how ridiculous and absurd can you get? And when I first heard these comments, my thoughts were, nobody's going to believe that. Nobody will believe anything so ridiculous.
I was the deputy involved. I just want to say that I knew nothing about who the individual was on the four-wheeler until after the fact. Sergeant Bradshaw made the phone call to the parents. I also want to state that I had no wrongdoing whatsoever with this individual. I done my job, and that was all.
Nothing. Here's news for you. You're not running him off from here. That's not happening. That's not happening. He's a good man. He's a good man, and you know what? You're prejudiced. You're prejudiced in your thinking. Yes, you are. No, you're prejudiced. You're prejudiced, and you've got in with this group believing that Bynum hung a kid.
There you go. A heated press conference. Things escalating quickly there. Again, a developing story out of St. Francis County. But what you hear Sheriff Bobby May quickly point out, there is nothing that the citizens can do, despite express their opinion, that is going to change anything in the hiring of Deputy Trey Benham. So again, a story we are following again out of St. Francis County right here in Arkansas. We are continuing as well to monitor President Trump, who is live right now at the White House. If he begins taking questions or remarking more on the war in Iran, we will bring you there live. So stick with us for that. A lot going on today. A lot going on today there. Okay. What I want to do for you is take you right now to our live shot out of Johannesburg, South Africa, as we are continuing to monitor it. As promised, we'll have that update coming for you here in just a few moments. Alrighty. We got a first look today at the UFC Freedom 250 venue on the White House lawn. It's something we've been seeing from that White House camera as we have looked at it for weeks now, as it has been continuing to be built. This comes as the UFC's Freedom 250 fight card is set to take place this Saturday, June 14th. June 14th on the South Lawn of the White House. It's an event expected to draw more than 90,000 spectators across the South Lawn and the nearby ellipse, the UFC covering an estimated $60 million in cost for the outdoor extravaganza, including a massive lighting structure called, quote, The Claw. The Octagon is already set up on the White House lawn, with the event scheduled to get underway at 8 p.m. ET, so Eastern time there, 7 p.m. Central, and streaming in full on Paramount Plus. The card features 7 fights, including 2 title bouts at the top. The event also concedes, with President Trump's 80th birthday and Flag Day with weigh-in scheduled at the Lincoln Memorial. The event is not without controversy. A federal lawsuit has already been filed by the Public Integrity Project on behalf of 2 Virginia residents, claiming the Trump administration bypassed required congressional approval and skipped an environmental review to erect the fight venue on public land. The Trump administration is urging a federal judge to reject the lawsuit, arguing it was filed too late after months of planning and construction were already well underway. So at this point in time, unless there is some type of major injunction by a judge later today or tomorrow, the fight is going to go on Saturday. So here's President Trump talking about the fight a little bit.
Is just a fighter like you've never seen. You see the kind of pounding he'll take, and then all of a sudden it's over, and the other guy's not in good shape, right?
It's a crazy game.
Not in good shape. So these are the toughest people. These are the greatest fighters in the world. They're all champions, and they'll be fighting against very tough people also. And but I think you always go in thinking you're going to win, but they're fighting against. They're Olympians. They come from all over the world. Some come from extreme poverty. Some come from, not too many people come from Fifth Avenue for the most part. I would say Fifth Avenue is not well covered.
So Trump clearly excited about the fight, again expected to happen on Saturday. We will be monitoring it as well. If anything major happens there, we'll bring it to you. Alrighty, some breaking news here. U.S. forces announcing they have disabled a 3rd oil tanker in 3 consecutive days in the Gulf of Oman late Wednesday night after the vessel violated the ongoing U.S. blockade by attempting to transport Iranian oil. The latest strike on the Palau-flagged MT Settle Bello came at 11:14 p.m. on June 9th when when a U.S. aircraft fired precision munitions into the ship's engine room after the crew repeatedly failed to comply with directions from American forces. The attack prompted an immediate diplomatic incident with India, whose foreign ministry condemned the strike, noting that 24 Indian crew members were on board, of whom 21 have been rescued so far. India's embassy in Oman is coordinating with Omani authorities on the ongoing search and rescue operation. India's foreign ministry called the targeting of commercial shipping, quote, deeply worrisome. and demanded, quote, free and unimpeded navigation through international waterways in keeping with international law. The U.S. blockade, which has been in effect since April 13th, is designed to economically pressure Iran into more flexible negotiations over its nuclear program. Reports from inside Iran describe rampant inflation and rising unemployment as the blockade continues. So, there we go. A major story there at the Strait of Hormuz that we are continuing to follow. Okay, now to this story. This is a story that I would say is happening right now. It is developing ever so moving. The New York Knicks pulled off one of the most stunning comebacks in NBA Finals history Wednesday night at Madison Square Garden, erasing a 29-point deficit to beat the San Antonio Spurs 107-106 in Game 4 and take a 3-1 series lead. What does that mean? Here, we'll get to that. The Spurs came out on fire, scoring 41 points in the first quarter alone. Holy moly. And building that massive lead that had Knicks fans heading for the exits. But New York refused to die, outscoring San Antonio 26-14 by the third quarter, and then dominating the fourth 32-16 to complete one of the most improbable turnarounds in finals histories. Wow. Now, the two heroes of the night to talk about here, Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby. Brunson was absolutely sensational, pouring in 36 points on 12 of 25 shooting with 7 assists and 3 steals, refusing to let his team go quietly. Anunoby matched him step for step, finishing with 33 points and shooting a scorching 7 of 9 from three-point range, including 100% from the free throw line. Together, they combined for 69 points in the comeback. Karl-Anthony Towns added a double-double with 13 points and 10 rebounds to round out the big three. Now for the Spurs, Victor Wembanyama, excuse me here, I'm not exactly sure to pronounce his name. I think it's Wembanyama. I can't say that quickly, I apologize. Had a 24-point, 13-rebound double-double and was fouled 10 times, but it wasn't enough to hold off the Knicks' fourth quarter avalanche. The Spurs had built their biggest lead of 29 points, but watched it completely evaporate as New York went on and on. And an extended run to flip the game on its head. Now the Knicks stand one win away from their first NBA championship since 1973. With Game 5 this Saturday in San Antonio at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, the Spurs are fighting for their playoff lives on their own home floor. That is going to be a highly anticipated and nail-biting game. Again, that is coming up Saturday in San Antonio, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. We will be monitoring it here at Brookland News. That is for sure. So a lot going on there that we are going to be watching. So crazy that a team can do that. Lack in the first and second quarter and make it back by the third and fourth, second half. Okay, now to this. The World Cup beginning in Mexico today. You're taking a live look at a watch party there in Johannesburg, South Africa. The 2026 FIFA World Cup soccer tournament, one of the biggest in history, kicked off today with an opening ceremony in Mexico featuring a celebration of Latin music. Now, Mexico hosts South Africa in the first of 104 matches at this expanded 48-team tournament. A repeat of the 2010 opener that kicked off the World Cup in Johannesburg. The tournament has not yet come to U.S. soil. The U.S. men's national team opened its campaign, tomorrow against Paraguay at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles at 8 p.m. Central, which will mark the first World Cup soccer match played on American soil in this tournament. The tournament wraps up with the final on July 19th at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, and I'm hearing for nosebleed seats, $3,000+. Yeah, I'll watch it on my TV. Okay, we're going to sneak in another quick break right here on Brookland News Live. When we come back, more of the biggest headlines. This is a big one here. Northern Ireland erupting in anti-immigration protest. You're going to have to watch some of this video. It's interesting. And a Northwest Arkansas meteorologist stays on the air for tornado coverage despite a literal fire in the studio. We're taking you there here in just a few moments. You are watching Brooklyn News Live. Well, the violence in Belfast, Ireland, all began after a 30-year-old Sudanese man named Tani Alodi attacked a man in his 40s with a kitchen knife on the night of June 8th, so earlier this week, triggering a wave of racist riots that spread across Belfast and into other parts of Northern Ireland, as well as Scotland and England. You're taking a look at video of some of those protests. Law enforcement, in some video, spraying with water, like a literal fire truck spraying water onto these protesters to back them up. They become violent. You see some of the fires there on your screen. It's forcing several families to flee and leaving more than 24 people homeless, including a 2-year-old. Now, on the second night of all of this, demonstrators wearing masks tore bricks from walls outside homes, smashed sidewalks with sledgehammers to create projectiles, and used sections of dismantled picket fences as shields against police water cannons. At least 16 people were arrested and 12 officers injured. In anticipation of further violence, police put an extra 200 officers on the streets. Just scary moments there if you are in Ireland. Again, big anti-immigration protest ongoing there.
Service, and there's a fire in the studio right now.
Okay, excuse me. KFSM 5 News meteorologist Noah Simmons is now going viral after that video you just saw there, after he refused to leave his live broadcast last Saturday evening when a studio light caught fire mid-segment while he was tracking 2 active tornado warnings in the Fort Smith area, surrounded by smoke and holding his shirt over his face. Now, Simmons calmly told viewers, quote, "So we just had a fire in the studio, but we got 2 tornado warnings, so we got to keep watching and covering this live." A producer rushed in with the fire extinguisher to put out the flames, which is what caused much of the haze you see there visible on camera. And within minutes, the fire was out. Just moments after the fire started, Simmons reported a 3rd tornado warning in the region. The tornado threats eventually expired as storms moved east, with reports of downed trees and damage to a barn roof. Simmons later reported only minor throat irritation and watery eyes. No serious injuries were reported in all of this. Thank goodness. A scary moment during a scary time for so many under a tornado warning. People have praised him online, calling him a hero. A label he himself put back on, quote, "I think someone threw out the word that I was a hero. That's kind of a strong word, though. Just kind of an ordinary kid, a meteorologist from Missouri just trying to do his job," he said in a Facebook live stream after the incident. Alrighty, that is going to wrap things up for us on this busy Thursday. I mean, there have been so many headlines. We have brought to you so much. I'll tell you, I've been monitoring the feed out of the Oval Office where President Trump has been speaking. There are so many people behind him as he signs this bill. It could be an executive order, actually. Yeah, he's signing an executive order on seafood. So as he's done that, there are so many people behind him that have been speaking. Why don't we take you back live there for just a moment here as you take a look. So many people speaking that we have yet to be able to listen into reporter questions. And they might be asking questions right now. Okay, what we're going to do here is turn the audio up because President Trump is now taking questions here. We're going to stick on the air for just a moment.
There will be a signing this weekend because you have come close to sealing a deal, but at the last minute it has fallen apart. And
it'll be soon, maybe this weekend.
And has the Supreme Leader approved this deal, sir?
I understand the answer is yes.
And when this deal is signed, is the United States going to immediately lift the blockade?
Yes, that's part of the deal.
And
you'll have oil prices dropping like a rock.
And sir, have you actually secured an agreement on the discussions about the nuclear material and the nuclear negotiations?
Yes, conceptually on that, and nobody's getting close to it because it's buried under a mountain, basically. There's B-2 bombers.
But has Iran committed to not pursuing a nuclear weapon, or will there be more negotiations on that down the line?
They will not have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that. There will be no, which is the whole reason, which is a big part of the reason.
Is that going to be in your agreement, sir?
They will not only not have, they will not purchase, develop in any way, any shape, in any way, shape, or form a nuclear weapon. They will not have a nuclear weapon.
Mr. President, just to follow up on that, you have said before that Iran and the United States were close to a deal. It has not happened yet. Why are you so convinced that this time is different?
Because they've taken a pounding. They've taken a pounding like very few people could take, and they want to make the deal a lot more than I do. And we could have had it done the other way, I guess, but it would have taken longer. They got hit very hard recently, as you know, and I don't like to have to do things that way, but I felt it was necessary. It's a great deal for the United States and for the Middle East, and I think ultimately great for Iran because they'll be able to build up their country and other countries. I really believe it's a regime change because I find these people to be much more rational than the people that are no longer with us. We knocked out the first team of leadership, the second team of leadership. This is a different group, this is a different level, and I think it's frankly a smarter level, and it's a level that has reason. And they've all approved the deal. Everybody's approved the deal. Now we'll get it finished up, and hopefully that'll be done. We will not have Iran having a nuclear weapon, which is very important to these people behind me. We can talk about fishing. There won't be anybody to fish. The fish will still be around, I guess. They're probably going to be affected too. We're not going to let it happen. So Iran will essentially, most important paragraph to me, Iran will in no way, shape, or form have a nuclear weapon or purchase a nuclear weapon.
But is this just a concept of that agreement when it comes to nuclear? You said this was just a concept of that agreement. So is this just essentially setting the stage for deeper talks on nuclear?
It's a very strong memorandum of understanding. That is a little conceptual, but it's something that's going to get done. And if it doesn't get done for any reason, which I can't imagine that not happening, they want to sign it as much as I do or more. I would say they want to sign it more, maybe a lot more, but it's a very detailed memorandum of understanding, also agreed to by many other countries that have great influence over them, and everybody wants it done. So it's going to get done.
Mr. President, you suggested yesterday that Iran may be tapping along the U.S. Those were the words that you used. What makes you believe that they are sincere this time in wanting to pursue diplomacy?
It's a level of enthusiasm for getting it done. And we were hitting them very hard for the last 3 days. We're going to hit them even harder tonight. They knew that. We told them exactly what we were going to do. We explained it exactly because they had no Navy, they had no Air Force, they had any weapons of detection, they had nothing. And so we could tell them exactly what there wasn't a thing they could have done about it. And we won this war militarily very early on. The only thing we didn't win was the fake news was, no matter if they could have raised the white flag of surrender, and the fake news would say, oh, they did wonderfully. They didn't do wonderfully. But you know what? They've got a chance to build a country. Their country is largely demolished. Again, their Navy is gone, their Air Force is gone, their anti-aircraft is gone. Everything's gone. Their leadership is gone many times over. Even many people from this leadership is gone. But we found them to be rational, and they're going to make a deal.
Mr. President.
And I'll tell you what, it's a great deal. You know why it's a great deal? Because they will never have a nuclear weapon.
Mr. President,
is there a specific amount of time that has to pass between this memorandum of understanding and the final deal being done?
Well, we hope it's going to go relatively quickly, but it's
Is there a 60 or 90
I mean, the straits are going to open immediately upon signing. Maybe it'll be Saturday or Monday.
Or is there a deadline, though, to get from this to a final deal?
We think it's going to go pretty quickly. I don't want to say a deadline, because if I say a deadline, you'll say, oh, he didn't meet the deadline. You know, this is like, it's not going to matter much, because it's going to get signed. And the strait is open. But the straits have been open for a number of months already, and you just didn't know about it. You know, you as reporters weren't able to get it. I just announced yesterday that we brought a lot of ships through, and nobody knew about it. I guess we did a pretty good job, Peter, right? But we brought many, many ships across, and millions, hundreds of millions of barrels of oil were brought across.
Mr. President,
And there wasn't a thing that anybody could have done about that. Yeah.
is the Carg Island operation off the table, and are you ruling out?
Well, now it would be. If we signed this agreement, it would be. They weren't so thrilled when they heard that that's what I would have done. And I just don't think, I like it great. Look at Venezuela, how well that's worked out. We paid for that war many times over. And many, many times over. We have millions of barrels of oil from Venezuela going to Houston. And we're working great with the Venezuelan government. Couldn't be better. It's a real good relationship, really good relationship. Venezuela's been amazing. This is a larger situation. Actually, less oil. Venezuela has a lot of oil. But we think of it, we spent X dollars. We paid for it many, many times. When was the last time you heard that? Many times over we paid for it. Do you ever think you'd see that in this country, right? We go to wars, we end up with just blasting the hell out of people, and we come home, nothing happens. Venezuela was amazing, and this is amazing. Yeah.
Mr. President, are you considering using or drafting an executive order to extend FISA or to continue using Section 702?
Well, the Congress wants me to do it, and let's see what happens.
Republican leadership wants you to do it.
Well, you know, I put out a statement. Sure, it's very important. It's very important for our military. Yeah.
Mr. President, on the State of America Act, you're now urging Republicans to add that to this third reconciliation bill.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on why election integrity matters so much for national security from your perspective?
Well, we need it for our elections. We need to have voter identification, which you don't have right now, on a national basis. We need it for, and the voter ID is very important, we need it for proof of citizenship. Do you believe it? The Democrats are fighting. They don't want you to prove your citizenship when you vote. You know why they want that? Because they cheat. And we also want it with mail-in voting, where you have people that are sent 7, 8 ballots, 2 ballots, 4 ballots, and a lot of them sign those ballots. Mail-in voting, and we want to be very judicious. If you're in the military and you're far away, or if you're handicapped, or if you're sick, or if you're on vacation, that you have but you're not going to, millions and millions, look at California, they send out millions of ballots, tens of millions, they have no idea what's going on. Those elections are so corrupt. So we have a mail-in ballot, and we have no men, and we had 2 more, no men in women's sports. We're talking about saving America, right? No men in women's sports, another one, very popular. I think it's 99-1. They say it's 80-20. I think it's 99-1. And we have no mutilization of your children for transgender purposes. So it's the transgender mutilization of your children. Does that sound good with you guys, generally speaking? You're not into transgender mutilization?
Not at all. Not at all, sir.
Where your child leaves your house and they take your child from you. In some cases, think of it, in 6 states, they take the child and do what they want to do. What they do is I don't even want to talk about it. We had that no transgender mutilization of your children.
On D&I, Mr. President, do you intend to have Bill Pulte continue to serve as the acting director of national intelligence? And do you think it's unreasonable that some Republicans have concerns that he has no intelligence experience, even if he's serving in this acting role?
But he's intelligent, unlike a lot of other people.
But do you think that's a fair, no intelligence?
He's only there for a little while. He's running it for a short while we get a very talented person, Jay Clayton, and as you know, Jay Clayton's an incredible talent, head of Sullivan and Cromwell. He was head of the FCC. He's now Southern District. I mean, nobody has better credentials. But Bill will run it for a short while. He's done a fantastic job at Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Created tremendous. It's probably worth $1 trillion now. Trillion. He's done a great job. He's a smart guy.
Mr. Today's another example of you bringing these everyday Americans into the White House and listening to them.
Yeah.
How important is it for you to listen to everyday Americans when it comes to policy making on a
These
daily
people
basis?
built the country, not the complainers. The complainers didn't build the country. These people built the country, whether it's fishermen or farmers or anything else. Guys like me, they built the country. You know, I watch all these ingrates. They're always complaining. They didn't build anything. They couldn't build anything. Look at what's happened in Minnesota. Somalia. All these people came in from Somalia. They ripped off our system. You have the woman who married her brother. She came in and married her brother. Isn't that wonderful? And then she talks about the Constitution of the United States. She comes from Somalia. They don't have constitutions in Somalia. They don't have police. They don't have all they have is people that run around shooting each other. And then she comes and tells us how to run our country. I don't like it. These people don't like it. I can tell you. I think I can speak for you.
Yeah.
She comes in, Ilhan Omar. She comes in. She tells us how to run the United States of America. And she comes from a place without anything, probably among the worst countries in the world. And she says, the Constitution of the United States protects me. She shouldn't be protected. She honestly, she should be thrown out of the country. She's corrupt. And most of the people that came in are corrupt. And the whole voting system is corrupt in Minnesota. I won Minnesota 3 times, easily. I won almost every county. But they didn't give it to me. It's a corrupt system. Very corrupt state. The governor is terrible. The attorney general is terrible. They're all very corrupt people. Yeah.
Sir, on just that supplemental, do you think there's enough support from Republicans in Congress
I hope
to
so.
pass it?
I mean, any Republican that voted against it would be.
McConnell and Collins say they don't think it's
McConnell's an angry man. He got thrown out of his position. He's an angry guy. He should be very thankful to me because if I didn't win, he wouldn't have gotten to appoint. I appointed the judges. He didn't. He gets credit for appointing judges. He didn't appoint anybody. I did. You know how I did? I won the election. And then I picked judges. And the judges ended up getting approved. And they said, oh, didn't he do a good job? He didn't do a good job. What the hell did he do? I won the election. He's an angry man who's very disloyal to John Thune. John Thune's a good man. He was a loyal worker for Mitch McConnell. He worked for Mitch McConnell. He worked very hard. He was very loyal to him. I disagreed with him a lot because Mitch McConnell gave so much money to Democrats. He gave them money. I had to go get the wall money from the military. I just took it out of the military because that guy wouldn't do anything. He gave it. No, Mitch McConnell's a bad guy, and he's I thought he was lousy at his job. But when they give him the only thing they give him a lot of credit for judges, but I'm the one that got the judges. You know why? I won the election. If I didn't win the election, he wouldn't have had any judges. So. Yeah.
So when will you send the supplemental?
Say it again?
When will you send the supplemental to? Do you have any idea?
Send a supplemental, but you have him, you have Murkowski. I've done so much for Murkowski. You have the governor right here. Governor, have I done a lot for Alaska? Is there anybody done more for Alaska than me?
You've been the best president for Alaska in our history, Mr. President. I've said that many times.
And Murkowski's terrible to us, terrible to the country.
Mr. President.
And, I almost feel guilty. I do more, probably done more for Alaska than any other state. Not because of her, because it's the right thing to do. She's just an impediment. But she's there. She probably will be a negative vote. You have a couple of other. I think Rand Paul's come a long way. Let's see what happens. I think Rand Paul likes Save America, because Rand Paul's usually a negative vote. but I think he likes Save America, so that's good. I like Rand Paul, but I hope he votes for us. Yeah.
Mr. President, the president of the Kentucky Farm Bureau testified before the Senate about a month ago, middle of May. At that point, he said that the pricing and availability of fertilizer was a crisis for farmers. And he said the war was not helping that. And he said we need the government to step in and provide economic help. Even if you do make a deal in the next couple of days, that was a month ago that farmers were saying they were in crisis. Do you think there needs to be federal aid specifically for farmers because of the war?
No, it's fair. I gave the farmers $28 billion in my first term because they were taken advantage of by China. And I charged China for it. I put tariffs on, and China paid us hundreds of billions of dollars. And I took $28 billion out of the tariffs from China and other countries that treated our farmers very badly. I gave them $28 billion. And I'm looking at that, actually. The war is the primary impediment, which is now going to come down from Ukraine. A lot of it comes out of Ukraine and other things, but other places. But no, the farmers have a problem with fertilizer, but that's all coming down now. And your fuel is going to be, I think it's going to be lower than it was 4 or 5 months ago. 4 or 5 months ago, we were doing unbelievable. But remember this, if you look at Biden, his oil prices, without saving our country, saving the world, by going out and saying to Iran, you cannot have a nuclear weapon. If I ask these people about Iran having a nuclear weapon and they're going to have to go through some pain, I mean, I don't think, I hate to really do it because it's a little dangerous. Every one of these people are going to say, you cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon because they'd use it. You want to see turmoil? You want to see death and destruction? Let Iran have a nuclear weapon. So, but I am looking at doing a form of help because of fertilizer. But fertilizer is going to come way down as soon as this is out.
And then a political question, if I can. Next week, there's a big runoff race in Georgia for U.S. Senate.
Yeah.
You notably endorsed a candidate for governor there. You haven't endorsed for U.S. Senate between the two Republicans. Why not?
I may do that, but every time I endorse, they win. It's been a pretty amazing track record. I was 18-0 this last week, and a lot of them are insurgents. What?
Do you regret endorsing Randy Feenstra in Iowa?
The man running against him was all Trump. And
Alrighty, you've been listening in there for the last few moments or so. President Trump taking questions from the press. Big things on Iran. He says the Strait of Hormuz will reopen fully, meaning the U.S. will no longer imply their blockade. He also says that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. Essentially, they won't have anything to do with a nuclear weapon. They won't be able to purchase one, anything like that. That is what was within what President Trump said there as he took questions from the press. He also says that the reason they want to make a deal and have made this deal is because they have taken major implications since this war began. So we will follow it all. We'll be right back here tomorrow at 2 p.m. Make sure to join us then for the latest in news, weather, and more. Unfortunately, what I'm going to do actually here, we didn't get to your forecast today because there was so much breaking news, an absurd amount, to be honest. We had so much going on happening around us here. One second, let me get your forecast pulled up for you. We're going to wrap up. We're going to leave you on a screen of your forecast. Some rain could be coming tomorrow and into this weekend. We're following it. We'll have more on that coming tomorrow. We're going to wrap things up, leave you on your forecast. Thank you for joining us throughout the last about hour and 19 minutes. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, you guys.